They say silence is golden. But Carl Jung would argue that silence is far more than that. It's revealing, it's transformative, and when used consciously, it becomes a mirror that shows others exactly who they are and who you've become. In the world of relationships, romantic, familial, or social, many of us grow up conditioned to believe that love means staying, that respect is earned by being endlessly available, that walking away is weakness. But what if the exact opposite were true? Jung believed that we live in a psychological battlefield, one where the strongest warriors are not those who shout the loudest, but those who are brave enough to step back, to remove themselves, to disconnect from the game entirely. Distance in Jungian psychology isn't just a boundary, it's a radical act of self-respect. And when you create that space, when you stop explaining, stop justifying, stop begging for understanding, something interesting happens. People reveal their truth. Some will try to pull you back in. Others will disappear completely. But most importantly, you start to see clearly. You see who was real, who was using you, who was never there for you, but loved how you were always there. We chase validation because it's addictive. It gives us a hit of dopamine, a temporary high. But chasing it leaves us bankrupt in the long run. And Jung knew that. He understood that we project parts of ourselves onto others, that the version of them we fall for is often just a reflection of a wound inside ourselves waiting to be healed. So when you walk away, not in bitterness, but in clarity, you're not punishing them. You're liberating yourself. That distance, it doesn't just hurt them, it exposes them. Ever noticed how someone suddenly realizes your worth the moment you stop reaching out? That's not coincidence. That's human nature. When you're always available, you become invisible. But when you vanish, you become unforgettable. This isn't about manipulation. This is about resonance. Because true connection doesn't require begging, and respect never demands over-explaining. There's a strange power in becoming quiet, in stepping back from the noise, in simply saying, no more. Because when you do that, when you pull away from people who once depended on your energy, your kindness, your attention, you learn something crucial. You were the light. You were the stability. You were the emotional backbone the whole time. They didn't choose you because they loved you. They chose you because you made them feel safe, at your own expense. And when you withdraw, that safety disappears, and their true character starts to leak through the cracks. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that requires isolation. It requires stepping into the void alone. It means being misunderstood. It means being seen as cold or distant by people who once relied on your emotional labor. But make no mistake, that coldness they accuse you of, that's just your warmth, no longer for sale. You see, there's something primal about distance. It triggers discomfort in people because it removes the illusion of control. When you step back, you give others the space to be accountable for how they treat you. No more cushioning their behavior. No more interpreting their silence as love or their inconsistency as mystery. Just the raw, uncomfortable truth of who they are when you are no longer catering to them. Most people aren't ready for that. Most people rely on the dynamics staying the same, you giving, them taking. When you break that rhythm, when you refuse to dance to the same emotional song, it throws everything into chaos. But that chaos is revealing. It separates those who value you from those who only valued what you gave them. Carl Jung understood that individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, can't happen if you're still trapped in roles others assign to you. The peacemaker, the fixer, the dependable one, the one who understands. All noble sounding, but also incredibly convenient for people who never reciprocate. Walking away, going silent, taking distance. It's how you break out of those cages. It's how you stop playing a part in someone else's play and start writing your own script. And when you do, you'll notice something else. Not only will the wrong people fall away, but the right ones will appear. Or at the very least, the right you will emerge. You'll start to feel your own weight, your own value, not based on someone else's approval, but rooted in self-knowledge. That's not ego, that's awareness. The kind of awareness that doesn't need an audience to feel seen. Distance allows you to hear your own voice again. It's quiet at first, strange even, like hearing a song you used to love but forgot existed. But the more you listen, the louder it gets. And suddenly, you're not waiting for someone to respond to your message. You're not checking your phone hoping they finally get it. You're not posting to be noticed or shrinking yourself to be palatable. You're just being present, whole, enough. And that right there is the real revolution. Because the moment you no longer need to be chosen, you've already won. Most people won't tell you this, but walking away is a form of communication. In fact, it's one of the most powerful ones. It says, I'm done explaining my worth. And that silence, that lack of engagement, it forces people to sit with themselves. No more blaming, no more shifting responsibility, no more distractions. Just them, their reflection, and the echo of your absence. That's when true character is revealed. Some will lash out. Others will pretend you never mattered. A few may try to reel you back in with charm and temporary guilt. But if you look closely, you'll see the panic underneath. Not because they love you, but because they lost control over how you see yourself. That's the part that terrifies them. You remembering who you are. Carl Jung wrote about the shadow, the parts of ourselves we repress, deny, or project onto others. Often people project their insecurities onto those closest to them. They love you, but only as long as you don't outgrow the version of you they're comfortable with. They'll admire your light, but secretly resent the fact that it shines where they refuse to go. When you pull away, that projection breaks. The mirror shatters. And what's left is raw truth, ugly or beautiful. Walking away isn't about punishing others. It's not about pride. It's about choosing peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, self-respect over desperation. It's about understanding that if your presence isn't appreciated, your absence will teach louder than your words ever could. And make no mistake, self-respect is quiet. It doesn't perform. It doesn't beg. It doesn't convince. It simply walks away from what doesn't grow, doesn't nourish, doesn't honor. It stands tall in the middle of doubt and still says, I choose me. That's the Jungian journey. The path toward individuation, where the self becomes whole by confronting and integrating all its parts. Not by pleasing everyone, not by being liked, but by being real. And realness has a cost. It often requires solitude, distance, and the courage to be misunderstood. But it also delivers freedom, the kind no one can give you and no one can take away. The aftermath of walking away is not always peaceful, at first. There's guilt, second-guessing, the echo of old memories knocking like unwelcome guests at your door. You'll wonder if you overreacted, if maybe you should have stayed just a little longer, said one more thing, tried one more time. But deep down, you'll know. The version of you that tolerated that treatment was a lesser version, a smaller version, and you're not going back to that. There is something sacred about reclaiming your energy, about saying, this part of me is no longer available to people who don't respect it. It's the beginning of real self-respect. And once that begins, everything changes. Who you attract, what you tolerate, how you speak, and how you walk into a room. Distance teaches discernment. Silence teaches self-worth. Carl Jung believed that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off parts of yourself, but by embracing the full spectrum, the light and the dark, the kindness and the boundaries, the giving and the leaving. Because leaving doesn't mean you hate them. It means you love yourself enough to stop negotiating your dignity. And here's the twist. When you walk away with integrity, you leave something behind. Not your presence, but your example. You show others that it's possible to honor your heart without hardening it. That it's okay to care deeply, but not at the expense of your soul. In the end, distance is not the absence of love. It's the presence of clarity. And sometimes, the most powerful message you can send is, I no longer participate in my own mistreatment. That silence will echo louder than any argument ever could, and those who needed to hear it, they'll hear it. So walk, not out of anger, not out of pride, but because you finally remembered who you are, and in that remembrance lies your freedom.